Welcome to the Genesis of the Doctor podcast, where we're taking a journey to the time and space of the history of Doctor Who. I'm Tris.
And I'm Joy.
And for today's episode, we're focusing on the third and fourth serials of Season 4, The Power of the Daleks and The Highlanders, though this is perhaps best described as the start of the second Doctor.
Yeah.
So, this... I gotta be real here. These were good introductory episodes for him. Like, these were really good.
Yeah. I definitely felt a lot was missing, considering we couldn't see him in the role, unfortunately. But
Yeah. It's
like
a bit unfortunate, but...
he definitely seems like a very physical actor, and you just don't get that in the animation or the reconstructions.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, right? That, like,
Yeah.
his surviving episodes are not really surviving. I mean, at least The Highlanders has enough of the loose cannon reconstruction that I felt I actually got a decent idea of what was going on. And for
Yeah.
Power of the Daleks, so much of the audio survived that I actually think the animation was quite good. Even though it definitely felt
Yeah.
like one of the earlier animations, like the quality of it specifically felt a bit lower. There was something about the way it was done that still felt very good, actually.
Yeah, I definitely like the animation. It's just unfortunate that like he's not moving around as much as you kind of get the feeling he would be.
Right, right. But let's start with the animated episode. So,
Apparently, they were very rushed with this animation too.
yeah,
So
I could
that
definitely
wasn't
feel it
great.
at times.
Because they were originally given 10 months to make it, and then they went, oh, wait, if we do it in 5 months, then we can do it for the 50th anniversary. So actually, you
Oh,
have 5 months.
in
So,
half the time? No.
yeah.
It's like, look, losing 2 months would have been annoying, but doable. But half the time? No.
Apparently,
That would explain it.
they redid it in 2020, but I don't think that's the one that's on Tubi. I think Tubi has
Right.
the original version.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm definitely curious
I
what
really
the
like
higher
this
quality
story.
version's like. Yeah,
I really liked it.
yeah.
It feels
Power of the Daleks was really cool.
kind of like a modern Dalek story as opposed to the
You
classic
know,
Dalek stories.
and I think that's because there is a modern Dalek story that's clearly, now in retrospect, very inspired by this one, which is Victory of the Daleks, the third episode
Yeah.
from Series 5 with the 11th Doctor and Amy, where in that story you have the Daleks kind of infiltrating World War II time, and you have Winston Churchill and the scientist that claims to have invented these Ironside robots, but they're actually the Daleks that created him, this human robot, but
Yeah.
all for the goal of having the Doctor identify them after the Time War. But it still has the iconic line that originally came from this of "I am your servant."
Yeah. I feel like there's really a lot of modern Who Dalek stories that are like a human finds a Dalek and tries to take advantage of it, and then everything
Yeah.
doesn't go well for them.
Yep.
Because they did that
But
Revolution of the Daleks in the 13th Doctor era, did a
yeah,
similar thing.
yeah. In modern Who, we kind of have the problem of the Daleks are supposed to be more well known across the universe as well as on Earth, so they keep retconning the humans knowing them on Earth to get away with that.
Yeah.
But here in Power of the Daleks, we didn't have to worry about that because outside of the Dalek invasion of Earth in like 2100, they weren't that well known. At this
Yeah.
point, like this human colony, sure, probably far enough future that if the Doctor did indeed contact Earth and like the records were looked through, they would have found they probably would have found, oh yeah, Daleks invaded us, huh, maybe don't work with those. But that's not what was going on here with this colony. Instead it was,
Well,
finding these things. But did we have a year?
apparently, according to promotional materials, this takes place in 2020, which is
Oh,
weird.
okay. That's kind of funny.
Like, Dalek Invasion of Earth doesn't really give the impression that they've already been spacefaring, but I guess
Yeah,
they
it
already
doesn't.
were, according to this.
All right,
And then this
then.
is modern day for us now. So it's kind of funny.
I wonder when we'll read about this one on the news. No, but that's actually really fitting, though, that it feels like a modern Doctor Who Dalek story, and that it's supposed to take place in 2020. That's really funny.
Yep. Also, it was funny that the planet is called Vulcan, and
Yep.
apparently on Star Trek, Vulcan came around at like the same time. So it was like a
Wow.
couple months earlier that Star Trek introduced Vulcan. So it was just coincidental that they both used the same name, which
Yeah,
is very
that's
funny.
pretty funny in retrospect. That's pretty funny. So
Yeah.
this story though was really interesting because it wasn't just a good Dalek story. It was also the first story with this Doctor post regeneration. So we had the scenes of the very first time we see the Doctor being extra quirky post regeneration and kind of getting a feeling for who they are, but also the companions reacting to the Doctor having changed. And this is really the
Yeah.
first time we get all that.
Yeah. I kind of like how they did it with him too, because like they kind
Mm-hmm.
of they write this episode so you will side with the Doctor even if you're not really totally behind the idea of him being played by a different person, because like obviously he's the only person that's talking any sense in this whole story.
Right.
I mean, the companions agree with him pretty quickly, but like everybody else is like, the audience knows that you shouldn't be trusting these Daleks, but the
Yep.
people don't. So you're already like agreeing with the Doctor even if you're not behind him,
Yeah,
being different.
exactly. Exactly. It's written in such a way that it's easy for us to viewers to get on board with. Okay, this is the Doctor, but how is his Doctor becomes the next question. Whereas,
Yeah,
for the companions, it's because they don't know the Daleks, they've only heard about the Daleks. It allows us to see from their perspective how they warm up to him. Although I do think that part could have been done a little bit better because I think
yeah,
once like about halfway through they kind of stop questioning him as the Doctor and they just take it, but I don't feel like there was a good proper moment of them accepting that yes, this is the Doctor. And I think I would have appreciated something like that even if it was at the end of the episode, just because of how
yeah,
much they were doubting him like to his face as well.
yeah. They definitely kind of simplified that a bit. Like Polly just kind of agrees that he's the Doctor pretty quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
then Ben just takes like the whole time.
Yeah, Ben takes most of it because he's so doubtful that the Doctor will actually do the right thing as the Doctor. Polly kind of takes it because we've seen weirder things, but does, or at least for the first few episodes, she does constantly kind of question what the Doctor's doing. Like, oh, that's not like you. That's not like what you would do.
Yeah,
But I love the little ways we saw him kind of getting a feel for himself, and I have noted down. I love that he decided to measure this rock and then test his physical capabilities by jumping over it. It's so extra, but it was really
yeah.
funny.
I
But
find it interesting
also,
how he keeps
yeah, go ahead.
referring to the first Doctor as the Doctor. And it's a
Yeah,
bit interesting way for him to do that.
yeah. It's like he's not quite himself yet, and he's
Yeah,
almost like an out of body experience for him. Like he's not quite the Doctor yet. He hasn't established that yet, so
I
that's
mean,
still
like,
kind of a stranger to him.
I guess it's kind of like how the 13th Doctor did it, where like she doesn't know who she is yet
Yeah,
when she's
that's true.
in her regeneration story. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't call herself the Doctor until like the end of the episode.
Nope. At first, she's looking for a doctor. Doesn't know why, but she is.
Yeah,
It makes
could
me
be
wonder
just
if
like,
this really set all that up, like the standards for it. It's like, okay,
yeah,
this is how he handled it. Okay, now let's see if we can kind of continue with this kind of idea every time we
kind
regenerate.
kind of set up that your memory's not great
Yep.
initially. Takes a bit for it to work, which is why
Yep.
he found his diary and read through it.
Yeah. Kind of helped catch him up to speed. Although I think the most interesting part of this regeneration is the fact that he says it's part of the TARDIS. I have written in my
Yeah,
notes in quotes, "It's part of the TARDIS." No, it isn't. No, it is not.
apparently in like the fifth Doctor time, they kind of suggested that the TARDIS just like kind of helps you recover from your regeneration, sort of thing. So
See,
it's like
that's fair.
he wasn't saying the TARDIS regenerated him, but it just made him be able to cope with it better. Which I guess kind of makes sense, although New Who hasn't really done that.
No, because he keeps
It,
destroying the TARDIS whenever he regenerates now.
yeah,
Like every time.
and I guess I mean in Modern Who, technically, the two times the Doctor has regenerated outside of the TARDIS, something went weird with it. To be
Yeah,
fair,
that's true.
because
It's just
first
never safe.
first you had 13 become David Tennant again, then you have the Bigeneration. So maybe the TARDIS does help stabilize it.
Yeah, maybe. Hard to say. They haven't said it quite yet in Modern Who, but I suppose they could at any point.
Yeah. In Modern Who, they kind of just use it as an excuse to just be like, well, we have to destroy the TARDIS set anyways, so
Hmm.
we'll just work that into the regeneration.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about this. I'm looking through my notes here from early on about the regeneration. How one of the very first things Patrick Troughton does as the Doctor is pull out the recorder from that chest, and he just starts playing it immediately. And I know the recorder is a big part of the Second Doctor. Like I know we even have um, a reference to that in Power of the Doctor when you have the
Yeah.
Master as the Doctor and he pulls out the recorder and plays the same tune. But was the record? Do you know if the recorder was Troughton's idea or like the showrunners or like the higher ups?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
Haven't
because
heard.
I'm
Yeah.
so
I,
curious
I,
about that.
I can try to look it up for next time, and then maybe
Hmm.
I'll have an answer then. But
No,
yeah,
that's fair.
I don't know about the recorder.
It's just it was so quick. And it almost makes me feel like they actually just like brought like a box of like basically junk onto set and told the Doctor just, hey, whatever you think you would be fun to work with, take it,
Yeah.
try it, and we'll make it work. Obviously, the recorder kind of came into play much later on, although that also felt very weird. There's a moment where the Doctor's in prison and he's trying to play a certain frequency on the recorder to like Jimmy the Lock, basically, which he can't do with the recorder, and then sounds like a dog whistle. So he then does the whole thing with like wetting your finger and like putting it on like the brim of a cup.
Yeah.
It was very
That
strange,
scene.
actually.
Yeah, it was a very weird scene.
It's the very start of the sonic screwdriver. The realization that he needed to make one came there.
Yeah. Apparently,
Man,
the
it was a
scene
great scene for what it
where,
is.
like, the scene where he first got introduced to like the people on the base, where he like
Yeah.
just stood in front of the one guy and just sized him up. Apparently, that was because behind the scenes, Patrick Troughton was kind of doing that with people, and then the writer noticed
Oh.
and was like, we could work that into the episode here, where he's just like, he like scans the room and figures out who's in charge there and stuff like that. And apparently,
Ah,
Patrick Troughton
okay.
just did that behind the scenes.
I think that was a really good scene when you kind of look at everything and you realize how Bragan was trying to take control. It makes sense that he was the one being sized up there and not the actual governor.
Yeah. At first, you kind of get the feeling that the other guy was the bad guy, but then you realize, oh wait, that was
Yep.
all Bragan manipulating things.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy just how much control he actually had.
Yeah. I will say that I really liked like the cliffhanger. I think it was the second episode where the Doctor is like yelling about how awful Daleks are, and then it's just
Yeah.
drowned out by the Doctor saying, or the Dalek saying, "I am your servant. I am your
Yep.
servant." It's
Yeah.
very good scene right there.
I have that noted here that that's such a strong cliffhanger, and that was the exact moment that I realized how this is very much like the Matt Smith episode, but
Yeah.
drawn out to 6 episodes in a way that I think is actually paced very well, and we're not rushing through it. This was actually like very well paced, despite being 6 episodes, and normally. Historically, for us, the longer serials, the ones longer than 4 episodes, tend to feel a bit too drawn out. I think this was actually paced very well. It was very tense throughout, and like the character development throughout each episode tended to make sense.
Yeah, I definitely felt that this was a very, very good, well paced story as well.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly unraveling like everything that's going on here was very
Yeah,
well done.
and it's because there's a lot going on. Because I think if it was just a Dalek story or just a regeneration story, it may not have worked as well. But the fact that it's both and they know there's a lot going on, they really pace it out nicely then because of that.
Yeah. I will also note that this is the first Dalek story that Terry Nation was not involved in.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by David Whitaker, who was the script editor for like the first season.
Right.
He kind of becomes like the secondary Dalek writer, I think.
Yeah, I can kind of tell, especially after this one.
Yeah, I think he did a very good job at like having like the political nature of Daleks, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You know, like how people want to take advantage of the Daleks, and then like obviously Bragan when he gets in charge, you know, his uniform is very obviously
Mm-hmm.
Nazi-esque.
Yep.
It doesn't hide that at all.
No, becoming a
But yeah,
dictator.
I feel like it kind of did what Daleks Master Plan was trying to do, but it did it better because it actually like explains what they're trying to get out of the working with the Daleks. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
like you can understand why they're making an alliance with the Daleks,
It
which
it
is
does make
partially
more
because they
sense
don't know
here.
what they are. But
Yeah, it make them working the people working with the Daleks makes far more sense here than it ever did in Daleks Master Plan. This felt like their
yeah,
real master plan. This was about them like rising back up from just three of them.
yeah,
So they were definitely growing in power here, and this one actually felt very strong. Um, I actually was surprised though that not once did we have anything of the Daleks directly recognizing the Doctor. We only had hints of it.
yeah.
Even
I kind of like
Polly
that they
being like, "Oh
kept
my
it.
god, it recognizes you, Doctor," but they didn't do more than that. So the Doctor,
I,
the
I,
Doctor is not quite the mortal enemy to them yet.
yeah, I kind of liked like the subtle scene at the beginning though, where you can tell that it's recognizing something about the Doctor
Yep.
when we see it like from the Dalek's perspective, and it's just staring at him.
Yep.
It's curious.
There's a
I liked
point
how they did that.
there. There's a point there that I think it really uh, hit home, both there and then at the very, very, very end when the TARDIS dematerializes, and then we see that like the destroyed Dalek is kind of actually still alive. I I would need to look through the episode again, but I'm pretty sure the name Doctor was only ever said in front of the Daleks those two times. And
Yeah,
I think those were meant to depict like the Daleks curiously inspecting like this does not look like the man we register as the Doctor. And then the Dalek survivor seeing them go in the TARDIS and the TARDIS dematerializing, fully understanding this is the Doctor. And I think that's to
yeah,
set up for the next time he encounters them, they're just gonna know that's him.
yeah. I know we will be seeing them at the end of the season, so
Okay.
I guess we'll see how it ties in.
Yeah, soon enough. Soon enough. Couple other notes that I have here. The fact that the first order the Doctor gives the Dalek after it proclaims "I am your servant" is immobilize yourself, and it just makes me think back to the Ninth Doctor looking at the Dalek and goes, "All right, here's an order for you: kill yourself." Like,
Yep.
oh my god, never change, Doctor.
Ninth Doctor was a bit more brutal with it, but it
Never
definitely works out.
change. Yeah, yeah, it's same kind of idea. Um, I have a couple of the Doctor's quirks listed here as well of the Doctor and Polly getting caught up on Lesterson Listen as a tongue twister. It was very
Yeah,
silly and almost felt not quite out of character, but like really not well timed, especially for Polly to get into it too, to the point where even Ben is just like, "Guys, what are you doing?" Like,
yeah,
it was a little messy there. Also, the Doctor completely cutting himself off when Bragan hands them fruit to go, fruit!
yeah,
Get
yeah.
very
I wrote that
excited
down
about
too.
it.
It was very funny. You can definitely feel that they're trying to do like a different thing with the Doctor here,
Yeah.
where he's more funny, I guess.
But it really does make me wonder, like, how much is, like, scripted, like, we're making him different, and how much is Troughton adding his personality to it, like, letting the Doctor kind of be part of, like, his character, or putting himself into the character, you know?
Yeah, because I know he was like a very big character actor at the time, so like
Right.
he definitely has a lot to add to the role.
I also have written down as a funny thing. I know there was the secret message on the message board that they went over, and they the Doctor takes the capital letters, and the meeting in Rocket Room P. Did you pause and actually read the entire important notice?
I read part of it, but not all of it.
The whole thing was really funny about how like needing to have the milk rations for the entire colony, and we know you want your milk, but everyone must make sure to conserve and only use half. And then it goes on about dog milk, and I'm like, is it milk from dogs, or like a separate ration for your dogs? Like, I don't know, but it just kind of rambled on about it, and then it was like, please let us know if you have questions. And I'm like, I can't wait to see what this is actually about, because this is nonsense.
Yeah, I think that was a reference to something. I'm not sure what it was a reference to, though.
Oh,
But
really?
TARDIS Wiki said it was a reference to like some other show. I don't remember what
Okay,
it was.
that's pretty funny. It was just really silly. Like I actually got really curious because the whole thing was written there and we could see it. I don't know if that's what it actually was in the original. That might have just been for the animation, but it was
Yeah,
hilarious regardless.
I know they apparently changed a few things in the animation.
Hmm.
I think the dog milk thing might have been a reference to the Alien movies. That might have been what it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
Apparently, there was another Alien movie reference in there somewhere where it was like
Hmm.
I think like one of the things had like a logo that was the same company that's in the Alien movies or something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah,
That's kind of
apparently
fun
there was
though.
also a Bad Wolf reference in there somewhere, but I didn't notice it.
That's a
But
bit early.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
they do
reanimated in
stuff like
like
that.
yeah, that's fair. Based on when it was reanimated, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I did not catch if that was in there. I did want to ask you because I do have notes to actually talk about certain characters. The whole dynamic between Lesterson, Janley, and Bragan was so fascinating
Yeah, it definitely was. Like
because
Janley's like a very complicated character, and like I definitely
yeah,
liked how they did that with her and everything.
like she was very much on her own side the entire time. Like
Yeah,
kind of working to her benefit or her people's benefit with the rebels. Not quite trying to work directly with Bragan, especially when he betrays her. Taking advantage of Lesterson, like she's very much like there's really three factions here, which is really
yeah.
curious.
And then the other dude decides to go kill Bragan after Janley dies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. I would have been surprised if Bragan made it to the end. I thought he was gonna meet his end to a Dalek,
Yeah,
comeuppance and all.
definitely how they would have done it in like a modern Who Dalek story is,
Yeah,
the Daleks would have just killed him.
especially since they had Lesterson get killed by the Daleks, which was really interesting because this man went from so confident in what he was doing with the Daleks to he had his one moment of hesitation of the Daleks kind of going on about getting their power, and he kind of looked at him. He's like, maybe I need to remind them that I'm in charge. Wait a minute. If I need to remind them that I'm in charge, how much are they thinking? Wait a minute. What
Yeah,
if they are evil? Like he spiraled from there. But I did not expect him to go like completely insane. Like he changed the way he was doing his voice. The animation make him look like he was cross-eyed half the time. He looks like he's like on the verge of giggling the entire time. He's like, "Oh, there what's next?" And it's all
yeah,
right. So he really went off the deep end.
yep, definitely did. I liked when he did the "I am your servant" at the end, though. That was funny.
Yeah, that was actually quite funny, and I like how the Daleks kind of pause for a moment. It's like, we don't need you.
Yeah, we don't need human servants anymore. Goodbye.
Hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
This is also the first time we fully get to see a Dalek outside of its casing. And
That's
it's just
true.
like
It
a
is.
weird blob of tentacles.
I was actually curious about that. Was that only for the animation here, or did we actually get to see it in the original thing? You think?
I did look up like the telesnaps, and it's basically just the same thing in the original. It's just
Okay.
like a weird blob of tentacles. So it
Okay.
looked identical, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which
I
makes
mean,
it
hey, that's
weird
pretty good.
that Ben described it as like a weird claw thing when they saw the first one, and I mean it's not a claw thing. I guess maybe the script was expecting them. I think maybe the script was expecting it to be like what it was in that first Dalek story, and then they just
Yeah.
decided to not do that when they actually made the props and stuff.
Yeah, that
Maybe.
makes sense. Kind of. They tried doing the same thing. They're like, no, this won't work. We gotta actually give them a little bit more of a design now.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a weird blob, though.
Mm-hmm. It pretty much just is this weird alien blob, which I guess is fine for this early on and what they're supposed to be. But
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite classic Who Doctor or Dalek story, though.
Yeah, I
It's
have
like,
that written down at the end here. This is my favorite Dalek story so far. This was really, really
yeah,
well done. The tension between all the different characters and the threat of the Daleks really being built up between that and how well this whole thing was paced. It was really good. Like I was like really
yeah.
invested.
Like it does that claustrophobic thing that like the first Dalek story did, and I think it just does kind
Yes.
of does it better. Because like there's no like weird pacing issues and stuff, so it works a lot better here.
Right. It's not it's because like it's not like the first story where we're in, we're out, we're in, we're out. Oh no, we got to keep dealing with the Daleks. This is they're here, we're stuck with them. We know they're dangerous. When are they gonna do their thing and become even more dangerous?
Yeah,
But it was very, very good. Um, I think one of the other biggest things to come out of this though is the fact that technically we don't actually know if the doctor is what stopped them or if he just tricked them to shoot at what was sustaining them.
yeah,
Like this is kind of a case of something that we kind of sort of get throughout the years, and especially in Modern Who, sometimes we get the Doctor kind of bumbles a victory
yeah, pretty much.
that the Doctor can't even quite take credit for, just kind of snickers at, getting
And then
them to
he's
take themselves out, basically.
yeah. I did like that they brought back a static electricity thing though, because like they
Yeah,
kind of dropped that for the last few, and then they brought it back
hmm
here.
yeah, they got to do more with it, which I think was pretty nice. It kind of added some consistency to how the Daleks themselves actually function.
Yeah, and
I
I
also
liked it
note,
at the end. At the end, the doctor's just like, we got to get out of here before they make us pay for breaking all the
yeah.
electricity.
I love how that's what they were worried about too. It's like, oh, it'll take us so long to get back to normal. Was this really what had to be done? It's like, looks at everyone dead around you. I mean, would you rather an alternative?
He doesn't
Like,
stick
I don't
around to help
know.
them recover.
No, no, he
Maybe the
doesn't
TARDIS could have
often.
helped them or stuff, but nope.
I think he wanted to not really be involved any longer.
Yeah,
uh, I have noted here too. I love that we had the whole scene of the Dalek production line. I actually thought that was really cool, getting to see like how they were being
yeah,
created.
yeah. That was really cool. Getting to see that, and then
Mm-hmm.
we see them like make the creatures too, which is
Yeah,
interesting how that works.
yeah,
Just
and
like
not too
scooping.
different from like Modern Who, from what we've seen at times.
Yeah, I do also have a note here that apparently in the original script they would have suggested that this wasn't the first time the Doctor renewed, as he calls it.
Okay,
So
interesting.
it was an idea where I think like when he put the ring away, he would have opened like a drawer, and there would have been like a bunch of other stuff from possible previous incarnations
Ah,
and stuff.
interesting.
So they always had that on their mind, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's why we revisited that idea much later on. Just
Yeah,
because they clearly already wanted to play with that idea before.
yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think that
This
was a very
this story
good
was so
story.
good. Yeah, the
Yeah,
story was very good, and it really does make me like excited for everything else to come with this Doctor, because I think he made a really strong first impression. I think honestly, my only complaint with it is I just wished it was a little bit more of him and the companions like coming to terms with the regeneration. Just because
yeah,
I think the threat of the Daleks made them come to terms with that faster than they should have, and then they didn't address it after that.
yeah. Pretty much.
That's my
And
like
then
only complaint.
each of the companions did also take a vacation for one episode in here, which I didn't really
Yeah,
notice the first time I was watching it. But yeah, they disappear for an episode each
mm-hmm.
because they all get captured, and then you don't see them.
Yeah. It played out in a way that worked out.
Yeah,
Albeit Ben getting captured felt a little silly in retrospect because it really was he let himself get captured so the Doctor wouldn't get found, but the Doctor gets found anyway.
yeah. And then they did a similar thing in the next story too,
Yeah,
where
I don't know.
someone runs out to distract people, and then it doesn't work out.
constantly. It's a running thing there, I guess.
Yep.
But the power of the Daleks, good. Which then brings us to the Highlanders. So this was our introduction to Jamie as a companion, and this was a loose cannon reconstruction episode or story.
Yeah.
So this serial, all the episodes in it are missing, so all we had was kind of the audio and a bunch of stills to work with. Yet, despite that, something about this loose cannon reconstruction I felt was a bit better than the others, even though we had even less actual surviving visuals. Something about the scenes that were depicted, I got a better read for them than some other ones. Even though this had a fight scene, like some other ones where we've complained you can't do a fight scene when you can't see it because that doesn't work anymore. There's something about it here that I felt translated at least a little bit better.
Yeah. It definitely had good, they had very good pictures that just kind of helped tell the story better.
Yeah, that might really be as much as much of it. Just the fact that there was better surviving images to work with.
Yeah. I found it very funny right at the start where they hear the explosion and then Ben's like, it sounds like the World Cup final or the Cup final. And it's like, I guess people really like football. Or
I guess so.
In Britain.
Early on in this story, the Doctor introduces himself and then gets told Doctor Who, and he goes, "That's what I said."
Yeah, because he says
I thought that was good.
Doctor von Wer, which is German for Doctor of Who. So
yeah,
he did call himself Doctor Who.
the fact that he put on the German accent this whole time. Okay. This is actually to summarize a bunch of smaller notes I have put together. This had such good personality from the Doctor here, but it had me constantly asking why, but in a good way.
Yeah,
I think the Doctor loves
a good
disguises.
Job here. Yeah, he wears a dress in here, and Polly says it looks very good on him.
And then he says, "You saucy girl" to her. Which was really funny, and that caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Man, we haven't even reached the scenes where there's all the jokes and ideas of the Second Doctor and Jamie being gay, but we're already seeing some of that personality from the Second Doctor here. I love it. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But this is solely because of the fact of it being a loose cannon reconstruction. Honest to God, my favorite part of this episode was when they're all where they're all trapped in jail, and we see the little text come on screen. The Doctor pulls out his recorder. There's just something about the entire scene that played out, and then getting that caption that took me out. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though it shouldn't have been, because we had so many scenes of it in the Dalek episode, there was just something about, in this situation, the first time he pulls it out for this episode, being so out of nowhere, and honestly so poorly timed, it just made it feel like his character's really quirky.
Yeah. Apparently he was also trying to, make... Patrick Troughton wanted to make, the Doctor finding hats interesting into, his catchphrase or something. So, multiple times he finds a hat and he's like, oh, I really like that hat.
He even did that on the Dalek story.
Random. Yeah, he did.
It's a running thing.
I like the first one where he's like, oh, it's a hat. And then Polly reads it and it's like, oh, there's a poem inside. He's like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want it. It has a poem. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you. But, really, what was it with the Doctor this time? Putting on the German accent, taking control of, all these different situations by, basically just, role-playing.
Yeah.
And then, having so much fun in all these different costumes. He was disguised as, an old woman. He was disguised as a soldier. He's been in a lot this story.
Yeah. Kind of wonder if, we're going to get a lot more of that in Second Doctor's era. If that's just going to be an aspect of his character. I guess we'll see. He really likes costumes.
Yeah, he really likes costumes, and it's such a fun aspect of his character that he does too.
It was very funny though when he gets his old clothes back and it's just they just threw them outside, so I was able to grab them.
That's pretty. Yeah, it was pretty funny how we got them back.
They just didn't want my clothes, so I just found them outside.
So, while we've been talking a lot about the Doctor, I do think it's important to talk about Ben and Polly in this, because I have noted Ben was largely fine, but Polly felt really different to me this story. She felt a lot
Yeah.
meaner this story than she has been
Yeah.
before. Like this, like this Scottish woman starts like crying and like have like under like the pressure and trauma of everything going on, and she just goes, "Oh, well, crying's no good. And that's not gonna help." It's like, Polly, like, think about where you are. What's happening? Like,
Yeah,
what is with the attitude?
she was very weirdly mean to her, and then like she even had like a comment like, "Oh, you're just like a poor person" or something like that, and it's like,
Yeah,
what is going on with you, Polly?
yeah, like she was really rude.
I did like the way that she was with the lieutenant though. It was just like, "Oh, Algie, we're old friends, right?" And like I liked that little dynamic, but she was very mean to Christy or Kirsty, whatever her name was.
Yeah, yeah. Like to the soldier, that felt more in line with Polly, like taking advantage of the situation, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
to this other Scottish woman, she was just like insufferable to her. Like I felt so bad.
Yeah. Ben definitely works better in this story, though, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. He really does, and he bonds with Jamie.
Yeah. And he mentions Houdini. I guess he doesn't know that the doctor knows Houdini.
Yeah, that Houdini trick. I don't know if that's how that would really work.
Yeah, I don't know much about how to escape from stuff like that, but I guess he was trained in stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. He makes it sound like it's a well-known trick,
Yeah.
which makes me wonder, if it really would work that way. But I feel like something's missing, like from that. Like I don't think it would be that easy.
Yeah. The
But it
doctor
was
also,
funny. Oh, go ahead.
the doctor really likes guns in this episode, which is weird.
Well,
Like,
it's because they're not loaded.
well, I mean, early on, Ben was threatening to shoot the guy with a gun, and the doctor approved of it, which is
That's fair.
weird. And then their whole plan is to arm people and overthrow a revolution and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's a valid thing, but it's just, the doctor wouldn't normally do that these days.
True,
Like,
though this is not long after the Doctor basically incited and dealt with like the whole burning of Rome. So
yeah, it's more valid to overthrow a slave trade.
yeah, yeah.
It's a better plan.
Speaking of though, the fact that in the end that soldier works with Polly and they arrest the slave trader and kind of ends on a good note with them was kind of surprising, but in a good way.
Yeah,
Like
and
he
felt like
should
it
have
came out of
hated
nowhere.
Polly a
Yeah,
little bit.
but yeah, I guess they were just like, well, we've made you suffer enough, so we're just going to give you this very good arrest to go down on your record and stuff.
I guess like it's they needed his help, but I do kind of love how all of it only ever worked out because he was so humiliated by her getting the best of him that he had to be nice to
Yeah.
her, so that didn't get out.
Couldn't let anybody find out that two girls kidnapped him.
Yep, yep. And we really saw that when his soldiers needed to get him out of the hole, and they're like, oh well, it's not normal that us lesser soldiers had to get someone like you out of a hole. So like they really like drove home early on that he's not going to be having a good time as a result of this.
Yep. And he has to bribe them, but he doesn't have any money on him because they stole it.
Yep, yep.
I did also find it a bit funny how Perkins portrays Gray at the last minute and then just spits in his
Yeah,
face. I liked that.
it was pretty funny.
And then another note I have is back to that recorder scene. There was the "Down with King George." Oh, I just like hearing the echo. I love that.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, very excited to see his humor and how this all goes.
Yeah.
But how do we feel about Jamie? Because this was Jamie's origin story. He started here. He's not really a companion this story. He's kind of more just a recurring
No.
character. And he becomes a companion by way of, well, if he stays, he'll get arrested. Is
Yeah.
basically it.
And the doctor says he can join if he'll teach him the bagpipes.
Yeah, that's the only reason why he's fine
Okay.
with it.
I feel like we didn't really get a good grasp of what Jamie's like yet.
Yeah,
Because,
that's what I think too.
he's a good supporting character in this, but he just doesn't really feel like a fully fleshed out character yet. Which
He,
apparently the original idea would have been that he didn't join them. And then
mm-hmm.
it was a very last minute decision where I guess they just liked the character, or maybe it was they liked the actor, so they decided to bring him back. Because
Mm-hmm.
the original ending would have been he just watched the TARDIS leave, and then last
Yeah,
minute they changed that.
he definitely felt like a character that, in typical Doctor Who standards, would watch the TARDIS leave. So the fact that he went with them, I mean, it's surprising in the context of the episode. It's not surprising with the context of Jamie's like one of the longest running companions ever. Like
Yeah,
in that context, it's not surprising at all. But it is kind of just the way they brought him in was surprising.
yeah. I know that Fraser Hines and Patrick Troughton had a very good friendship, so
Yeah,
maybe the directors and stuff noticed that friendship was immediately there and just decided to keep him around.
that's true. Maybe at that point they also might have known Ben and Polly, or the actors for Ben and Polly had their plans or their set contracts, so they were looking to bring someone else new in for longer to set up.
Yeah, because we are like halfway through this season, and
Mm-hmm.
they're leaving at the end of this season.
Yeah.
So
But Jamie's also special because he's, again, still one of the few companions that actually don't come from, at the time, modern day. Comes from the past.
yeah, I mentioned a few episodes ago that we are getting a companion from the past soon, and yep, that was Jamie.
Yep.
He's from 200 years in the past, roughly.
Yeah,
Well,
I believe
200
so.
roughly at the time, which is
At the
almost
time.
300 now. It's
Oh,
around
jeez.
300
Yeah.
now.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be fascinating to see his reaction to everything as we go.
I can't wait. I'm actually very excited about that. Like, while
'Cause
I think the Highlanders as a whole didn't have that good of a showing for him. Like, you're right. I do think he felt a lot like just one of many recurring characters, kind of supporting cast members in the episode. I am excited to see him shine and actually really get a character.
Yeah. I mean, he will be meeting Cybermen very soon, so I guess you'll have
Oh
an
boy.
interesting reaction to that.
Can we also talk about how we went from a Cybermen episode straight into a Dalek episode?
Yeah. Fascinating to think
Like,
about.
nowadays, that's pretty big. So the
Yeah.
fact that that's what happened originally, despite them not knowing at the time the Cybermen were going to become almost as big as the Daleks, that's surprising.
Yeah. Two very good back-to-back stories.
Yeah,
And then
very
surrounded by historicals, and then this is the last
true.
one of those. We're-
Last historical.
the last pure historical is the Highlanders. Other than
Okay.
in the Fifth Doctor era, they do one more as just an off, just randomly to decide to do one more, I guess. So
Okay.
we will have one in many, many seasons later.
I feel like Modern Who needs to play around with the idea of some purely historicals again. We've come close.
Yeah.
We've come close.
I feel like the issue they had here is that I just the production team just didn't really want to make historicals, so they weren't really trying that hard, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the early ones were very good. I really liked the Aztecs, and I really liked the Romans. And I think they kind of just went downhill a bit, just because I feel like they just didn't really want to keep making them.
That's true. Well, the Gunfighters was pretty good.
Yeah. I like the Gunfighters.
We
but then-
liked that one. Everyone else says
Yeah.
otherwise, but we liked that one.
But then you look at the Smugglers, and you can tell that I don't really think they really wanted to tell a historical there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of tell from that one. All right.
Then I do have a few notes here that the credited writer is Elwyn Jones, who apparently didn't actually work on it much because he was too busy. So it was just entirely written by the script editor, Jerry Davis,
Huh.
and the director is Hugh David, and he was an actor a few years before this, and he was even considered for the role of the first Doctor, but then they decided he
Oh
was too
wow.
young. So it's funny connection there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Also, I forgot to mention this last time, but we did say goodbye to the first Doctor, but we will be seeing him 2 more times. There's the three Doctors, where he will be betrayed by William Hartnell, although it's like a minor role where he's just like on a television screen because he wasn't
Yeah.
able to do much at that time. And then
Yeah.
in the Five Doctors, he will be back as well, portrayed by somebody else because William Hartnell's not around by that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So we got a little bit more of him, but not quite.
Yeah. Got a minor role in the 10th anniversary special, and then a new actor in the 20th.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, I really liked Power of the Daleks. I feel like I wasn't as much of a fan of the Highlanders,
I thought it was
but
fine.
it was
Was
fine.
basically
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think the Doctor was the highlight of it. Honestly, like
Yeah,
the
for
Doctor
sure.
and his personality, his quirks, his love of costumes. Those were the highlight to it. Polly felt out
Yeah.
of character, and that actively bothered me. Ben felt fine, but I wouldn't say there was any like highlights with Ben.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
yeah. So
basically my
of these
thoughts
two,
too.
Power of the Daleks was great.
Yeah. Oh, and I meant to write this down for news, but Shudigatwa got a BAFTA for his role of the Doctor.
Oh
That was
hell yeah!
a couple of weeks ago. He got that. It's like the Welsh BAFTAs gave him Best Actor or something like that.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
Good
I
for
don't really
him.
pay attention to. I don't normally pay attention to like award shows and stuff. So technically, I think that happened before our last one. But then, yeah,
Similarly, before our last one, if I remember correctly, the official Doctor Who socials put out an official like Gallifreyan translator,
yeah,
which was interesting. I haven't had a chance to like look at it myself, but I just very distinctly remember just before then there was like an image shared from one of the episodes with like big Gallifreyan writing on it, and everyone being like, "Hey, wait a second! All the earlier pictures tweeted out recently had Gallifreyan in it too. Did the social media
yeah,
team get upset at us for not noticing that they made it really
yeah,
big this time?"
yeah. That was funny. Apparently, with that translator, there's a bit of controversy because it's apparently
Oh.
largely pulled from stuff that fans were doing over time. So like fans kind of developed this translation thing,
Yeah.
and then they're not credited anywhere on there. So there's a
Yeah,
bit of
that's definitely
controversy there.
frustrating.
Like it would be nice to just have have credit there for the people that like the fans that had done this because
Yeah.
it's like just directly pulled from the fan translations.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not very good.
There was also the news of Shudigatwa was on the Graham Norton show, and
Yes.
people were reporting that he said we're filming season 3 next year, and then when the episode actually aired, he didn't say that in the episode. So
Yeah, they seems to cut that from it.
yeah,
It's to me it sounds like a case of it's not like that's the plan, but it's not been officially renewed for it yet. Therefore, they cannot
yeah.
actively say that yet.
My assumption is Russell D Davis probably just told him like, if we are filming a third season, be free at this time of the year, and then
Yeah.
he kind of just accidentally said that.
Anything like that can happen on talk shows like that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
But I mean, here's hoping. Here's hoping they get
Yep.
renewed because that would be it would be very upsetting if they don't.
yeah. Apparently, like the TV and film industry in Great Britain is not in good health right now. So
No, doesn't sound like it. I don't like this problem.
I know that there are too many people that are big fans of Doctor Who that like in the industry that it probably won't go away fully, but it might have some issues in the future.
Yeah. I hope not, but I guess anything can happen at this point.
And then someone from Disney Plus said that like the numbers were good for viewership, but then it didn't retain the people that bought Disney Plus memberships for it didn't keep their memberships alive, which is why they're
See,
upset with it, which is just weird.
See, what's so weird about that is that's actually a plus to Doctor Who, not a negative, because it
Yeah,
means they brought in that many. It's on
yeah.
Disney to do something to hold them. It's not on Doctor Who to do something to hold them.
I mean, really, all they need to do is just get all the old Doctor Who, and then there
Yeah,
you go. You'll
seriously.
keep the people there.
That's
If you get,
incentive. If that wasn't already in the cards, they need to do that because that will, having over 13 seasons, and that's just what they do the modern. Having over
yeah,
13 seasons on there will definitely have people keep their subscriptions for at least another month.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of weird news about Modern Who,
Yep. A lot of
ups and
weird
downs.
production things, which, if they're filming The War Between the Land and the Sea, I can't imagine they're going to drop Doctor Who from Disney right after making the spin-off series. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be at least one more season on Disney Plus, and then
Yep.
we'll
And then
probably
from
see
there, we'll
after
see.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful because I would like for it to just go to one place, have money, and stay at that place and flourish, but we'll see exactly what happens there.
yeah.
But, Joy, I'm going to toss it to you to go over how to prepare for our next episode because we've got a bit of an interesting case for these next two serials.
Yeah. So our next two serials are The Underwater Menace and The Moon Base. The Underwater Menace is the most recent animation other than Celestial Toymaker. So it
Okay.
has a full animation for all four episodes, but there are also surviving versions of episodes 2 and 3. Underwater Menace, like the animated episodes, are not on even BBC iPlayer just because it's so recent that they're still
Oh,
trying to sell it. So
okay.
I know BBC iPlayer has their surviving episodes and then also has like loose cannon like reconstructions of 1 and 4. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that you'll just have to find somewhere. And then Moonbase is similar in that it has 4 episodes. 2 of them are animated and 2 of them are surviving. I know BBC iPlayer does have the animation for that one, but Tubi TV does not, and I don't think BritBox does either. So again, you'll just have to
Ah.
find a way to watch it.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm definitely gonna try to watch the surviving episodes of The Underwater Menace as well as the animated ones, though, because I want to see Patrick Troughton's physical
Yeah.
performance as much as I can.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though there's some animated here and we have ways to watch the full thing, I do want to watch some of the surviving ones to actually see Troughton's performance. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, the Moonbase, they didn't animate like the surviving ones, so you'll have to watch both.
Okay.
But yeah, and the Underwater Menace is the first time Doctor Who ever told a story about Atlantis. And
Oh.
I have heard that in Classic Who they go to Atlantis like multiple times, and it's
Oh,
never the
okay.
same Atlantis. It's always like a different explanation for Atlantis and stuff. So it's gonna be funny.
Dare I
And
say that makes it more interesting?
yeah, like they
It's
just
all
keep
actually
wanting to
different
tell
legends.
the story of Atlantis, and then they just never connect it to any of the other times that they've told the exact same story.
Mm.
And
Man,
then
that's interesting.
The moon base is a moon base of Cybermen, or I think it's getting attacked by Cybermen or something. But yeah, Cybermen are in that one.
Okay.
So,
Nice. All right. Almost time for more Cybermen. That should be fun.
and then
We'll have that next
luckily
time.
after these two, the last 3 stories of the season are just on Tubi TV. They're all
Oh,
animated, but
perfect.
they're all just on there. So after this,
Yeah, but
it'll
ease
be
of
better.
access.
Then I know in season 5 there will be some surviving serials, so we will get to see more live action next season.
Very nice. All right. Well, as you prepare for those episodes, if you want to watch those alongside with us, if you support us on Patreon, you'll get access to our Discord where we'll be encouraging discussion between these episodes and kind of talking about the episodes as we go. You'll be able to give your thoughts as you watch them with us. And you'll also get early access to these episodes right after they're recorded. Or if you support us for $5 a month, you'll be able to watch live as we record. We have a little live text chat here. If you want to tell us that The Power of the Daleks was not good and The Highlanders was the best show or the best episodes from the show ever thus far, you could tell us right here in the chat and we'll have a whole conversation about it. But
Yep.
otherwise, as a reminder to make sure to watch The Underwater Menace and The Moonbase before our next episode. But otherwise, I have been Tris. You can find me on social media at ToonTris.
And I've been Joy. You can find me on social media at Joy Content.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye.